I've always had a passion for running.
There were more people who climbed Mount Everest than run 100 marathons.
My personality is somebody that doesn't give up. I won't give up.
I've achieved something which I never, in my wildest dreams, thought would have been possible.
It just became an addiction.
You get addicted to doing marathons.
It's about pushing your body to the absolute limits.
This is endurance.
This is endurance. Put me a pair of trainers on and, you know, I'd get up in the morning and I would go for a run down the road, and I'm lucky to have the fells with me. So, you know, even if I just go up and do a fell race or a fell run, just being free on the fells is just, and it makes me feel magical inside. I can't really explain the feeling. You know, if I've got the worries of the world on my head, I will just put my shoes on and go for a run, and then when I come back, I'm just a different person. My name's Karen Bridge. I'm 49 years of age. I live in Penrith, Cumbria. I am a GB age grouper triathlete. I can do anything from a sprint triathlon to a long distance triathlon. I am the current European Gold Medalist for long distance triathlon for my age group. The long distance European triathlon consists of the swim, which is 3.8 Ks, your bike, which would then be a 112-mile bike, and then you would have to do a 26.2-mile run. I always ran as a child, played, and that's been my foundation for the endurance running. It's just come naturally over the years, and as I've got older, the more I've done, the stronger I've got. When I was younger, I used to run everywhere, from school and back, work and back, and then in my very early 20s I started doing road races just for running, just to keep fit, and then each one I did I just got better and better, and then that's when I really started to believe in myself and decided from that point I just really enjoyed it and I just wanted to do more. I was about 39 years of age and I was just becoming quite stale with running. I'd kind of run so many races now. I'd been abroad, I'd run locally, you know, I'd done the same event year after year. So a friend asked me, why don't you try triathlon? At that point, I couldn't swim and I couldn't ride a bike, but I actually liked the idea of new challenges like learning to swim, learning to ride a bike, and they all came hand in hand. I looked around and found a triathlon group. I started training with them and really enjoyed it. And then summertime came and I started to do a little bit more triathlon with them. Mainly I jumped straight into half Ironman distance with a local race, which is on my doorstep. And I really enjoyed it. So from that point on, that's when I decided I just wanted to do more and more. It was a half Ironman day in the lake. It was the toughest one as well because the route, actually, you swam in Lake Ullswater, across Lake Ullswater, and then you picked your bike up at Pooley Bridge and you cycled all the way around the lake. You'd get into transition, you would actually get your trainers on and then you would run along up on the fell, around the mountain and back again, which was 13 miles. And from that moment on, I was buzzing because the race was called Day in the Lakes and you actually did get a whole day in the lakes and it was just super. And it was classed as one of the toughest half Ironmans in England, so I really enjoyed it. It was probably my first open water swim, so I found that quite difficult. But once I got onto the run section, it was just like natural for me to run. So from that point on, I think I came back in such a fast time that I couldn't believe that I'd done the whole event in that time. I just had the natural ability for triathlon. From that point on, I was just dabbling in local races, local triathlons, and with friends I would go to a few races, and I was really quite enjoying them. But I didn't really seriously get into GB, and it was only a dear friend, that actually said to me, you know, he'd just been to New Zealand, and he'd had such a magical time, and listening to his stories, I just decided I would really like to be in the age group as GB. Pulled me aside and actually said to me, you know, Karen, you really have an ability to do really well in triathlon if you think about it. And if you're interested, he would help me. And he sat me down in his living room one day, and we discussed it. And the way he was speaking to me just made me feel really excited. And because I knew somebody was believing in me and showing me some direction, I wanted to do more and more. With going to Madrid, if you're an age grouper, then you have to self-fund it. So it's quite an expensive sport, is triathlon. I actually thought last year was my last ever triathlon, and I was just only going to have the 3 silvers. But I was rescued by Trebakes. They came up and they sponsored me, and they helped me to get to Madrid. But also I had a year's free coaching. I was approached by a local man, and he's starting up his coaching business, Lakes Till Try, and he coached me for a year to help me get my gold medal. Having a coach was very interesting, because for years I've always trained myself, and I just did everything my way, and my way was always the best way. But when I got the local coach, he actually stripped me right back. At first I couldn't understand, but I did benefit from a lot of his training techniques. There was more structure, like hill reps and speed work, which was really good, where normally I would just go out and just do endurance or time on the bike. And I would just I'm going off for a ride now, and off I'd go for a couple of hours, or I'm just off for a run now. But this was very structured and rigid, and I had to stick to it, which was quite a discipline in itself for me. But at the end of the day, you know, I got gold, and it's down to Trebakes and Lakes Till Try, you know, which helped me, and I'm grateful for all their help. I just think it was just one of the hardest events I've ever done. When we got to Madrid, it was so hot. I mean, I started to worry straight away, thinking, how am I going to cope? Knowing that the bike was extremely hilly, I'd got myself a bit anxious, and I'd never actually ridden in like 40 degrees ever. So I really didn't know what to expect. We got there at 5 o'clock Sunday morning, and there was the buzz. Everyone was buzzed. You could see people were anxious. It was dark. My swim was fantastic. I had a great swim. Ran into transition, quick change. I could feel the heat on my back, but then started on the bike, pulled my bike out, and off we went. We had 2 5-mile climbs, a 6-mile climb, a 9-mile climb, and a 12-mile climb. So I knew that I'd be on the bike, I think, in an hour and a bit more than usual, and a lot of it climbing. That's the only time I felt frightened of any event, because of how long I would be out there. And then we had a nice descent. It's probably one of the most hardest but most beautiful races I've ever done in my life. So got into the centre of Madrid. I was feeling pretty fed up. You know, I kept pouring water on my head, but it would just evaporate with the heat. So basically when I got to T2, transition 2, I was just wanting off my bike, and I just thought, there's no way I can run 26 miles. I just thought, how am I going to carry on? I came out of transition and sunbeaten. And at that point, my husband, John, had said I was leading by an hour for the other girls in my age group. So I packed myself with ice and carried on running. Normally, if I was doing an Ironman, I don't stop at the aid stations, I keep running through them. But it was all about safety, it was all about finishing. And at that point, my husband told me that some girls had dropped out, so I was down to only 2 of us in the race. I was then told that she had been taken off the course because she didn't make a checkpoint. So then that just left me, knowing that I had 2 more laps to go. It was hot. I just had to do it sensibly. I didn't have to race. So I basically just decided to back off, get over the finishing line. And then I finally came up on the last lap, and it was just so lovely just to cross that finishing line and know that that gold medal was mine. To me, it doesn't matter what sport you're in, whether it's a single-minded sport or whether it's a team sport, we're all equal. Whether you're a gold medalist or whether you're a beginner, we all have to start somewhere, and I do believe that we should all be as one, because we all have our good days and bad days. And I also believe that it doesn't matter who wins a race, as long as you hold your head up, you've done your best, you know, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. It's all about respecting one another.
So running 100 marathons, you, as you can see, acquire a lot of medals. It was one of those targets I thought, I could do that. It's something that's achievable. Not everybody would want to do it, and why not go for it? So I set myself a goal of running 100 marathons. My name's Michael Pate. I work for Westinghouse in Preston as a project engineer, and I've run 112 marathons. At 41, I ran my first marathon. Back in 2012, I was in my mid-30s, I had 2 young children. I was putting on weight and decided I needed a challenge, so I applied for the London Marathon. I've never really been sporty. I didn't really do any sport at school. I didn't really have much of an interest in sport. Prior to running my first one, I read a book called Running Crazy, which was about people in a 100 marathon club. Well, 1, why would anybody want to run 100 marathons? But 2, I didn't realise it was possible to run so many marathons. I started to meet a few people who were in the 100 club, and then realised that they're not really super athletes, they're just keen on running and enjoy what they do. So at that point, I decided that I might as well try and aim for that myself. It seemed like a great challenge and something that not many people have done, and something that you could be proud of doing as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought that's no very good, that, Andy.
When you mention that you're a marathon runner, most people think of London or Manchester, Boston, that type of thing. So they just think of flat road marathons. And I must admit, before I started running lots and lots of marathons, I thought they were just the big city ones as well. But now marathon running is so popular, you could pretty much run one every day of the week. So they're all over the country. I mean, I've done lots where you run round the lake several times. I've run along the Welsh coast. It's not just the easy on a road marathons that I've done, but wading through knee-deep in water and mud and falling flat on your face because the terrain's too difficult. I do so many marathons because not everyone's the same, as in not necessarily the course, but the way you feel. Some days you can turn up and feel as though you could carry on running at the end, and then there's other days where from mile 15 you're not really feeling it and you can't wait for it to be over and everything's hurting. It's the challenge physically, mentally, and the way that once you get over the finish line, all that pain seems to disappear and you feel great about yourself. It takes a certain mindset to run day after day on marathons. I think most people would be able to run one, but to put yourself through it for several days at a time, or 2 in a day, or running ultras, which takes a certain type of person, I think, to be able to mentally prepare for that, but also when everything is hurting and your mind's telling you to give up, to just try and push on through that, knowing that you're stronger than those little voices in your mind telling you to stop, and it helps to mentally make you stronger, I think.
Something in your feet anyway. Yeah.
The 100-mile run was definitely by far the hardest thing I've ever done. It took me just under 23 hours. The whole day was fantastic. Not only running that far, but getting to the end. Even at 50 miles, it was hard to try and eat and drink, and running through the night, it got really cold. So just to push on through all that was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. At one time I had to run 32 marathons in 1 year. I'd set myself a target of running 100, so in the first year I ran 2, and then it slowly built up year on year from 12 to 20. My training was running marathons. At the height I was probably doing 5, 6 a month. You'll run one on a weekend, recover during the week, and then run another one the following weekends. It took me just over 5 years to reach 100 marathons.
Michael Pate has done 99 marathons. 99 marathons. He's done 99 marathons. He's just done 100 marathons. Well done, Michael.
Finishing the 100 marathons was obviously a great achievement. On the actual day of completing the 100, I was absolutely shattered. It took a while for everything to sink in about completing the 100th marathon, because it took so long. I say it took 5 years, so you'd spent 5 years building up to that. Every 10 marathons that you did, it seemed to take quite a while to get to the next target and the next target after that. Achieving 100 marathons was something I never thought I'd ever do, so getting that was amazing. My family's definitely been an important part of achieving, reaching 100 marathons, definitely. Without my wife's support through most of this, it just wouldn't have been possible, and hopefully they're proud of what I've achieved. Yeah, there's been some dark moments throughout some of these events, which just knowing that my family's there at the end has helped push me through it. So yeah, definitely they've played a big part in all of this. These last 12 months I've spent trying to find that next target. Well, once you've completed that target, where do you then move your goalpost to? I did my 100th marathon at an event called Hell of a Hill, which is 5 marathons in 5 days around Rivington Pike in Bolton. I'm about to do the same event again this year. I know most of the things to expect, that it's going to hurt. I mean, it's a very punishing course, but when you're up on top of Rivington Pike, the weather seems to turn from the middle of summer to the middle of winter within the space of 10 minutes. I'm prepared for doing it this time. I'm hoping that the weather will be good to us, and that I'll get through all 5 days, no problem.
Today is Wednesday the 14th of November, and it's the start of the Hell of a Hill 5 marathons in 5 days event. feeling a little bit on the tired side now, as you can imagine, and I've been constantly eating since finishing, so hopefully I'll be fueled up ready for tomorrow. Hopefully it'll go as well as day one. This morning didn't start very well. I was feeling really tired. I didn't have any energy at all. This is probably the toughest event that I could do. Very tiring day today. I started this morning having not had a lot of sleep last night. I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. It's now a couple of hours since I finished and I've tried to put as much food down as I can get. But again, I'm feeling really tired, sick. I don't know whether it's best to stand up, lie down, sit up. But that's it, over halfway now, and 2 more days to go. I'm at the lowest I could be mentally, physically, emotionally. It's really taken out of me these last 4 days. But it was really windy, especially up on the top of the hill. It was sometimes hard to stay on your feet. So 1 more day to go. Tomorrow, turn up, crack the 5 laps out, go home.
Crossing the finish line on the last day of the 5 in 5 is going to feel great, knowing that I don't have to get up the following morning and run another marathon. I will have pushed my body to its limits for the 5 days and everything will be hurting from the neck down, but day 5 does feel great.
We've got a Michael Payne, Adam Title, Sophie, Bernie. We're pleased to say that you and you are 5 in 5ers. Well done, you 3. Great to see you coming in together.
There's definitely a big community amongst marathon runners, and lots of times where they've helped you through when you've been struggling. Just knowing a friendly face at mile 21 when you're hanging on for dear life and just that pat on the back saying, "Come on, you know you can do this," has helped massively. We'll all push each other through it and struggle along.
It doesn't really matter whether you're a complete beginner. We all need helping. You know, we all have to help each other, and you know, I will do anything for anyone, help anyone, whatever ability or level or whatever they want. I will always help.
Do it. It'll be the best day out that you have, and it's achievable.
In sport, age has no limits. If people are out there and they are inspired by watching this programme and they want to do it, you've got to believe in yourself.
Anybody can do it, you've just got to have the right mindset.